Book review time. Gonna be talking about Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid, which is the spin-off. It just came out, I believe. Um, just got done reading it literally like not even a minute ago. Just gonna do some thoughts. This is some good tea, by the way. Yeah, it's a spin-off of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. Uh, yeah, it's a spin-off. There's maybe a little bit. I don't know. I feel like you could call it a continuation, but a spin-off would probably be the technical term there. Even though there is some new stuff that we learn about Greg, and it is ostensibly a book about Greg, which, which we'll get to. We'll get to the fact that this is about Greg, not really Rowley. We'll get to it. But I think the technical term would be a spinoff. I think calling it a spinoff is the safest bet, even though, like I say, it is another story about Greg. You know what I mean? And it's a fresh story about Greg. You know, we learned some stuff we didn't know before. There's some new crazy shenanigans going on. So you could look at it as the next entry in the series. I mean, not that there is continuity in this series, but you know what I mean. Yeah, let's talk about the fact that this is a book about Greg, which is really kind of annoying because the premise of this book, that it is Rowley's journal, doesn't really last that long, which I'm conflicted about whether or not that's a spoiler, but I also feel like this is a children's book series. Who cares about spoilers, especially when it is a spoiler that happens within like the first 20 pages. Because yeah, within the first 20 pages of this book, that I believe it's 218 pages, which I believe is the length of all the Wimpy Kid books, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, within the first 20 pages, basically, Rowley, you know, the premise of the book being that it is Rowley's journal that Rowley is writing, gets turned on its head because basically he talks about, oh, today Greg told me that I should write his official autobiography, and so that's what this is now. And then you get a new title page, and it just becomes Greg's autobiography by way of Rowley, meaning Rowley is writing it, and it is about the experiences that he has personally had with Greg. But it's still about Greg. I would still say Greg is the main character. Which, I love Greg. Let's get that straight. If I haven't made this clear, which I don't think I have, love the Wimpy Kid series. I have actually not read the two most recent ones. I need to get on that. But I've read all the other ones. You know, I read them since I was a kid. I grew up with this stuff. It's my favorite book series when I was a kid. I just love the characters. I love the world. I love everything. You know, Wimpy Kid is a phenomenal, fantastic, hilarious series. That being said, I really was disappointed that this book was about Greg. Because the concept of a spin-off, I mean, like I said, I haven't read the last two Wimpy Kid books. You know, I'm an adult now. You know, I'm a young adult, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm in college now. Clearly, these stories don't resonate with me anymore. They stopped resonating with me in high school, for the most part. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, I kept up with all of them except the last two, and they just continually I've been losing interest. You know, and that's really no fault of Jeff Kinney or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's just how it is when you grow up. But I was really kind of interested in this premise that this time Rowley's going to write a journal. And he writes a journal for like the first 20 pages, and then it just becomes him talking about his experiences with Greg. And now, of course, he is writing it, and it is first person from his recollection. But the focus is still on Greg. And so really all this feels like is like a Wimpy Kid book with a weird gimmick. It is really what it feels like, because the art's not as good. And correct me if I'm wrong, was this the art style Rowley used in the in the original Wimpy Kid books, or is the implication that that Greg is recreating them? Because actually, I can't grab it because I was reading it on my library's digital app where you can get like ebooks and stuff. Wish I had a physical copy so I could actually show you what I'm talking about. But they actually, there's a little nod to the first book in here where they discover, or like he's talking about how they discovered old Zooey Mama comics, which, you know, if you know anything about Wimpy Kid, you know what that is. Yeah, they discover old Zooey Mama comics in this book, and the art style does not. It doesn't look like what I remember, and it certainly doesn't match the rest of the book, because the art style that Rowley uses, because presumably he's drawing it too. I just had a problem with the art style. It's very simplistic, and I realize he's a simplistic character. That's the creative decision. That's fine. That his art's going to be a little bit more simplistic. It's going to be a little bit uglier than Greg's. That's fine. But I feel like the art doesn't stand on its own. I feel like the art is one of many things that kills this book. I don't think this is a good book. I have to put that out there. Well, how many minutes? Like 6 minutes in, I guess I have to make that statement. I don't think this is a good book. I think there's a lot of problems with this book, and I'm going to get into it, as well as, you know, I've been getting into it already. But yeah, the art is just not interesting. Like I said, I don't remember Rowley's art being that bad originally, unless did Greg draw Zooey Mama originally? I don't remember. Did Greg draw Zooey Mama in the original one? Because when they found the Zooey Mama comics, it is a different art style than the rest of the stuff in the book. So maybe that was the implication. But I guess maybe we never have seen Rowley draw before this point. I don't. The mind, I don't remember. It's not in my mind if so. But yeah, Rowley's art style is just like not as interesting as Greg's art style, and it's clear that Jeff Kinney really has no clue like where to go with it. I think that's the problem with this book. I just don't think Jeff Kinney knew what he wanted to do with it, aside from not write like a traditional Wimpy Kid book. Because aside from the fact that Rowley's narrating and it has worse art, this could just be one of the later, lesser Wimpy Kid books. You know what I mean? Although without much of a plot. I mean, not that the Wimpy Kid books traditionally have a plot anyway. The first three do, and the fourth does. Maybe even the fifth, but after the fifth, after the puberty one, after the Ugly Truth, the plots got a lot more loose, and there was sort of vague plot related stuff going on. But this one definitely doesn't have a plot. This is just randomness. It's just a bunch of random, like, funny recollections that Rowley has about being friends with Greg and about all the wacky shenanigans they get into. There's not a plot. There's nothing really going on. It's not like in the first one, you know, the story with their friendship and all that. You know, it's not like the second one with Roderick. It's not like the third one with his relationship with his dad. It's not like the fourth one with the dog and Summer. It's not like the fifth one with puberty. Like there's no overarching storyline going on here. It is just funny random stuff that Rowley's thinking of, and of course I guess that fits Rowley's personality fine, but it's off-putting, and the book is lesser for it. Just like I think the book is lesser for being by Rowley, because Rowley is inherently this simple character. You know what I mean? He's a very simple character. He's a very one-dimensional character. You know, he's a good boy. You know, to contrast Greg, you know, Greg is famously like this just awful kid, basically. Greg is awful. Can we all just agree? He's hilarious, but he's awful. And then Rowley is his contrast, and that's fine. Rowley works perfectly as a contrast character. Rowley does not work well as a protagonist. He does not work well as a main character, and he's certainly not a storyteller. And I realize that's the point of the character. Don't at me. I realize that's the point of the character, is that he is a he. And I guess the point of this book is that it is this simple kind of stupid kid writing a book. That's fine. He's ripping off his friend Greg, because he looks up to Greg, which I actually thought that was kind of a funny. I actually kind of like that detail that he starts this diary because he looks up to Greg, and then Greg takes it over. But really, what the issue is I think it's too much like Greg as well. The way that he stylizes certain characters, I feel like. Do we know if Rowley reads Greg's journals? Has that ever been established? Because the art style, while the art style is different, it's similar enough that I don't feel there's a reason for this book to exist, if that makes sense. Because, when I heard that this was happening, when I found out that there was a Rowley diary coming out, I actually kind of got interested, because I was like, oh, how's Rowley going to stylize, these elements of the world? How's he going to stylize Greg? How's he going to stylize the mom, the dad, Manny, Roderick? How does Rowley draw these people? You know what I mean? Because one of the things I actually love about the movie is that the characters don't really look like the drawings, because of course they couldn't. Drawings are cartoons. But I actually think that that's really cool, and I've sort of internalized that as truth for the books as well, is that these characters clearly don't look like this. This is Greg's drawings. This is Greg's cartoons. You know what I mean? This is his stylization of these people who in reality probably don't look much like what he makes them look like in the comics. But Rowley stylizes characters in kind of similar ways, which, like I said, it's just off-putting. I don't feel like he would do that. Like I said, I don't know if does he read Greg's journal? Is that what this is? Is it more of him trying to be like Greg? In the way that he the mom, and the way he stylizes these characters and adds sort of similar details, especially the facial expression. I don't buy that Rowley sort of has the same visual language that Greg would have. I don't buy that. I think that that's cheap and lazy. And like I said, it would really help if I had visual evidence to show you guys what I'm talking about here. But just sort of the things that you associate with Wimpy Kid, almost sort of the visual language, of sort of characters' facial expressions, sort of the way that they hold their body, sort of the way that they are when they question things, just little quirks of characters. Rowley gives characters those same quirks that Greg does, and I don't buy that he would do that. I think that is lazy, and I think that is just Jeff Kinney sort of purposefully phoning it in, to be 100% honest. Like I said, also, there's the little things, like the fact that the mom looks like the mom, or that Greg looks like Greg, just with a slightly different art style, they're a little bit chubbier. I don't know why that's the case, because I don't feel like Rowley would draw them that way, because why would he? Unless he's read Greg's books, unless he's read Greg's diaries, which, like I said, there's no indication, at least that I remember, that he does this. You know what I mean? Sort of in the other books or in this book. Does he? Am I just completely forgetting that? Is Rowley a frequent reader of Greg's diary? Greg would never let that happen, first of all. Greg would slap the crap out of Rowley if he ever found out that Rowley was reading his diaries. I'm 110% sure. That's ridiculous. So why does he draw characters with similar features and similar body language? That's ridiculous. Like I said, it's just a kid's book. It's fine. It's a cash grab. It's fine. But I don't know. I think this book had genuine potential to be interesting. Because like I said, the Wimpy Kid books. they're sort of on autopilot right now. Like I haven't read the last two, but all the ones I had read sort of post five have been very autopilot, very just very uninspired, and I felt like this could be the spark, which really could bring this series a new life. But it's not, because it's just another Wimpy Kid book. But this time it's another uninspired Wimpy Kid sequel. But this time it's Rowley writing it, so it's got like less clever language, less clever jokes. You know, like I can't believe that's a selling point of this book, right? Like selling point of your comedy book is that, oh man, this time it's not as clever because the character's an idiot. It's like, well, okay. I don't know. It really is. It's just less. The art's worse. It's got less funny writing. It's less clever. There's really, and it's not even really about Rowley. Like I said, it's not even really Rowley's story. It's just another Greg story, but this time it's got the novelty of being told by Rowley. Yeah, this book's just it's just really disappointing. That's what it is. There's really. I honestly don't think I laughed once. I don't think I even chuckled once. That's ridiculous. For a Wimpy Kid book, like even some of the lesser ones, there's at least one joke I would usually laugh at. I don't think I chuckled once, and yeah, and I don't know. I just I don't know. It's disappointing. I realize I'm not the target audience for this anymore, but I do love this series. I do care about this series, and I thought that this might be cool. Thought it might be cool. Wasn't cool. On the bright side, it only took me like an hour to read the whole thing. I read it in one sitting, like in an hour. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know. Jeff Kinney, do better. It just sucks, dude. This just really sucks. Yeah.